Hi everyone, my name is Hora Humaira. In this video, I would like to share my experience about learning TOEFL and taking the TOEFL test at the LDC of UIN Araniri. This was my second time taking the TOEFL test, so I was already familiar with the format and section. However, even though this was not my first time, I still feel nervous because I hope to get a better result than before. As an English department student, I expect myself to do better, but after taking the test, I realized that TOEFL is still very challenging for me. I learned that TOEFL is not only about English ability, but also about focus, concentration, strategies, and time management. First, I want to talk about the listening section. For me, listening was sometimes difficult because I could not always hear the audio clearly. At the time, I sat in the back row, so sometimes it was hard for me to hear some part clearly, especially when the speaker talked too fast. There were moments when I missed some important information because I could not fully understand certain word or sentence. If I lost focus for even a few seconds, I sometimes become confused about the next part of the conversation. Because of that, I had to concentrate very hard during the listening section. Even though listening was challenging, I still tried my best to stay focused and answer careful. Second, in the structure, I also experienced some difficulty. To be honest, I think my grammar is still not very strong, so sometimes I felt confused when answering grammar questions. There were questions about subject-verb agreement, verb tense, sentence structure, and sometimes I was not fully sure about the correct answer. Some questions look confusing because the options seem similar. Even though I have learned grammar in class as an English department student, I realized that I still need more practice to understand grammar pattern better. I think grammar is something that can improve through continuous learning and practice. The most difficult section for me was reading comprehension. Honestly, this section became my biggest challenging and also my low score. I found reading difficult because the passages were long and contained many unfamiliar vocabulary words. Sometimes I need to read one paragraph more than once to understand the meaning. I also often overthink when answering questions because many answer choices look similar. Another problem was time management. I spent too much time trying to understand one difficult text, and because of that, I sometimes feel nervous when time was running out. I realized that I often focus too much on understanding every word instead of understanding the main idea of the text. To improve my TOEFL skill, I tried several efforts. I practiced TOEFL questions through book and online material. I also watched YouTube videos to learn strategies, especially for reading comprehension. Besides that, I tried to improve my vocabulary by learning unfamiliar words. Sometimes I also discuss TOEFL material with friends because learning together helped me understand difficult questions more easily. To be honest, I was not fully satisfied with my TOEFL result since this was my second time taking the test. To be honest, I was not fully satisfied with my TOEFL result since this was my second time taking the TOEFL test. I expect myself to get a better score. I feel a little disappointed, especially because reading was still my weakest section. However, after thinking about my experience, I realized that improvement takes time. Instead of feeling too disappointed, I want to make this experience a motivation to study harder and improving my English skill, especially grammar, vocabulary, listening, and reading comprehension.